once I'm in New Zealand, I'd said something on television about him going bald, and he got this painted hand and put it on my head.
I was with you that day.
Yeah, I mean,
I was with you. Hello and welcome to the Royals with Roya and Kate. I'm Roya Nikar, Royal Editor for the Sunday Times.
And I'm Kate Mancy, Royal Editor for The Times. And for this special edition, we are looking back at not just the last year, but the last 5 decades of royal reporting.
Because we're talking about drama, triumphs, and everything in between with our very special guest today, the award-winning Arthur Edwards. Royal photographer for The Sun since 1974, Britain's top-selling newspaper. I feel like, Arthur, you need a royal fanfare to introduce you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the only thing I haven't got. No,
It's fair to say, Arthur, you've been covering the royal family for longer than the two of us combined. How do you do it? Why do you do it? And we can't wait to ask you everything about it.
Well,
why do you still do it?
Well, I'm still doing it, and I did it
At the age of
84. I'm only 84. People say, when are you going to retire? I said, well, I'm only 84. And and I still like what I do, you know. And I would say, why retire when you like the people you work with and you like the job you do? So for me, it's just
we'd like to include ourselves in that.
It's never been a kind of job. It's been a way of life for me. And of course, you know, I was asked to do that job, and I didn't really. When I was in, I mean, I'd been going to the polo matches and getting some pictures and getting them published, and the editor at the time decided that someone ought to be onto Prince Charles's case to find out who was going to get married. He said that 30 was a good time to get married. And
what age was he at that point?
28, just coming out of the Navy. Right. And the first job I was given was go down to Harwich, where his ship was, the HMS Bronington, and I was there 3 days. Most miserable time of my life. Never laid eyes on him. Thought, oh, this is I'm going to get my head around this job. But eventually I covered polo matches, and I got one girlfriend, another girlfriend. And eventually in 1980, at a polo match down in Sussex on a Saturday afternoon, very small little polo ground, I was told he's here with Lady Diana Spencer. And I walked around this.
And did you say who, or did you know who she was?
I said, what does she look like? And he said, I didn't see him arrive, but I'm told he's with her. So I walked around this small little polo field. I saw this girl sitting there, looking pretty girl, and she was wearing a necklace with a D on it. And I thought, so excuse me, are you Lady Diana Spencer? She said, yes. I said, can I take your photograph, please?
Bosh.
And she said, seriously, and she said, yes. And she posed up for me. And I rang the office and I said, can you tell me about Lady Diana Spencer? They came back and they said, she's the youngest daughter of Lord Spencer. And I said, who's he? And he said he was an equerry to the Queen. I said, well, how young is she? He said, well, she's just had her 19th birthday. And so I remember writing on the caption, I don't think this is a girl. I don't think he's running around with teenagers. Ooh. Don't file the picture. And then a month later, maybe 5 or 6 weeks later, I'm driving up to Braemar to do the games, and I see Prince of Wales fishing, and who's with him? Lady Diana Spencer. And when she sees me, she bolts through the trees to the car. And then I got to the polo. When I got to the Highland Games, I was told she's following around like a lamb. And I phoned Harry Arnold, the royal reporter, who was having a large swigs of champagne at a cricket match in Kent.
Times have changed.
I was about to say, those are the days.
And he said, thanks, Arthur. And we splashed on it on the Monday. And I remember the headline, you know, he's in love again. And with my picture I did at the polo, was used that. And under there was a caption, Lady Diana Spencer, all the qualities to be queen. And we went for it big time. Every other girlfriend he paraded. This one he hid. We never got one picture of them together till the engagement day. I mean, and I remember, you know, going to Lambourne 6 o'clock in the morning when he was out riding his horse.
Yeah, it's being trained by Nick Gaisley.
And I remember going out on his horse, and Diana was there. They smuggled her in.
I can tell you how they smuggled her in, because I know this from the horse's mouth.
I'll tell you my story.
Okay.
So he comes out on the horse, and I'll take a picture. I'm the only one there. Anyway, he went off galloping. And that's not much of a picture. Where's Diana? Like, I'm kind of, and all of a sudden, all the mob turned up. And then a policeman comes down, rushes to the phone box. That's sort of strange. Anyway, I ring in. You know, phones that I just rang in. He said, "Have you got a picture of this horse?" I said, "Why?" He said, "It's just there's a press just gone out. The horse has collapsed and died on the gallops."
Yeah, it did. Alibi.
But I didn't see. Then he smuggled Diana out in the back of the Range Rover. I knew this was on, so it was a question of where she worked. I went every nursery in West London, found her. Is Lady Diana Spencer work here? Yes. Would she ask her if she took a picture for me? Came out carrying the 2 kids. Son came out.
Young England.
And that's that famous picture of her with the skirt that's
right.
almost like a transparent
It might have been where I went to kindergarten, Arthur.
Well, and I got that picture, and of course we ran the whole page 1, you know, and it was just a question of when. And of course they got engaged in the February.
And did you think right then, because you saw them right from the beginning in a way that others didn't, did you see a kind of connection? Did you think this is real love? This is going to last the distance?
Certainly I did, because obviously when William was born, I was outside the hospital, and I remember going over and congratulating him. And I remember Harry Arnold saying, "You have any more?" And he said, "Give us a chance, just getting over this one." And then we went to Australia, and that was 5.5 weeks. And from the beginning to the end, it was a fabulous tour. You know, they couldn't get their hands off each other. I had some really lovely pictures of them. I mean, one picture at Gisborne, as we were leaving New Zealand the last day. And
is this 81?
83.
83.
This was Diana, and he's just touching her on the derriere. And I've sent this picture as a sort of a last picture, sent it. And it was the splash picture, and it was Charles gives Di a pat down under. Great headline.
Classic.
Yeah, I mean, great headlines. And it was fabulous, you know. I mean, it was like amazing times, you know. It was every time you took a picture of it, it almost went in the paper. And
great for a young photographer.
Well,
to have
and
that.
also, you know, it was, and them days, of course, we were selling close to 4 million. The Mirror was selling 3.5 million. The Mail, the competition was fierce. You know, it was absolutely dog eat dog. You know, and there was none of this ring the palace and check, ring the palace. You just did it, and you put it in the paper. And if the writs come, they come. Nobody cared. It was just so aggressive.
And they obviously went to great lengths to keep her from views. Did she like some of the attention or not? Because it's I'm hearing kind of two things. I'm hearing that she hid from the cameras at some points, and that she was maybe talking to you and happy to pose for pictures on the other. So what was your take on
the later
that?
days after the divorce and after she was hunted, and seriously she was.
Yeah.
Yes, but before that, I mean, I can remember going through Hello magazine looking for pictures of herself. You know, I mean, she wore beautiful clothes. I mean, I remember the King saying that, Prince Charles saying at the time, you know, we couldn't afford to pay for the real price for these clothes, you know. I think I said to him, well, you could sell a polo pony.
Arthur, it's just amazing to have you, with your span of 5 decades, look back. And I think what's going to be really interesting for us is to talk to Arthur about how much has changed and get your take on how much has changed
and what's changed since.
Yeah.
Well, we know the King, he'll always kind of seek you out, and so will the Queen on jobs, and come and see how you are and have a chat with you and you know, ask you what's going on, what your opinion of things. But it wasn't always quite so cozy, was it? No. I remember you telling me once about an incident where he came over and sort of gave you what for from his horse.
I promise, when I was a castaway on Desert Island Discs, and the first story I told on it was about, you know, our first encounter down at Highgrove, and I was sent down by the editor to get a picture. You just moved into Highgrove, and I mean, the story has been told 100 times, but you know, I went to a big lens, and I'm walking across this public footpath at the bottom of his land, and he comes galloping up on his horse, screaming at me, saying, "You're on my land." I said, "I'm not on your land, I'm on a public footpath." He said, "Well, it's for walking on, not for taking pictures." And I'd only been on the Sun a couple of years, you know. I said, "Well, look, I'm just doing a job." He said, "Some job." I said, "Well, at least I've got a job." Of course, I didn't mean that as an insult to him. I just thought, you know, I'm working, like, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, he hit that horse so hard, he tore down back to the castle, back to the house. And I got my gear, shot out there, got in my car, belted back to London as quick as I could. And about the following Wednesday, one of his policemen came up to me and said, "What the hell happened that day?" So why? He said, "We were all sitting in the kitchen drinking coffee. He comes screaming in, he bangs the whip on the table, the coffee cups go flying. He said, 'You're supposed to be guarding me,' and Alfred was on my front lawn." And then a serious, and then of course another couple of bad, terrible rows with him, like screaming at me, It was aggressive days. I mean, those days the whole newspaper industry was aggressive. I mean, the editor didn't care. I remember once coming back from an awards ceremony. Prince Andrew had given out the awards and he'd given me my award, and we got talking afterwards. And
that does seem like a different universe now.
Yeah. Anyway, he was saying things like, well, it's all right for you, lot. You can retire. And I said, well, if I was your job, you want to retire. So you've got private planes, chauffeurs driving you around. I said, you don't have to worry about parking. You'd want to retire if you live like that. Anyway, I come back and the editor said to me, what's wrong with you? I said, if I didn't realise I'd have got the sack today, I would have given Andrew a right piece of my mind. And he said, you know what? If you don't give Andrew a right piece of your mind next time, then I'll sack you.
Wow, how timely that is.
Yeah. So that was the mood of the country. I'm just trying to say how it was then.
No, it's interesting because it's interesting to get your take on it as it was then, and the job then, which is very different, and the job as it is now.
Yeah.
What do we all think was the biggest moment of the year? There's been so many. Obviously, we've had the cancer diagnosis of the King, but also the Princess of Wales, for me, sitting on the bench in Windsor, saying cancer had been found, that she had embarked upon chemotherapy. What's your take on it? What's the kind of standout moment?
I suppose, thinking the moment of the year for me was when I was at Windsor Castle on Easter Sunday, and the King suddenly changed his mind and did a walkabout.
Yeah.
And I thought, God, that means he can now meet the public, so he doesn't fear of getting a cold or getting a chill or getting any sort of COVID. And that gave me such a buzz. I'll never forget that. He walked across and he was waving like that, and that was a great picture. And
it's
for
quite
me,
steady on his feet
was the
as well,
moment,
wasn't it?
because I'm not a person that kind of sucks up glue much. I kind of, when someone tells me they've got cancer, I always tell them they're going to beat it. And I suddenly felt I knew somehow he was going to beat it, and I knew Catherine would beat it, because they were going to get the best treatment possible. And they would, as Camilla said, if only he did what he was told, he would get better much quicker. But so
this Easter Sunday was after he'd been he released that they released a statement saying that he was diagnosed with cancer in the February. Yeah. Then obviously he had a few weeks away from public duties, but then this was the kind of the first moment, wasn't it, that we saw him back
when he went back to his old ways and meeting the people, which he absolutely loves. And to me, that was the thing, because that means I thought he turned a corner, and obviously had been told by his doctors that he could do that now, which means he was improving.
How do you think he's coped with this year in terms of personally, Arthur? You know him better than most of us know him, and in terms of doing his job as constitutional monarch.
I think, Roya, that he does not want his legacy to be of a tired, worn-out, ill king. Whatever is going to show that he was here, giving it 100% the whole time. If he dies early, he wants to at least do his job properly. He doesn't want to be sitting there feeling sorry for himself. He knows it. He just gets on with it.
He's taken the decision that whatever happens with his illness, and let's wish him really well, he's still having treatment. He's taken the decision that he's going to learn to live with however he's treated and just crack on with the job full pace.
He's going to crack on full time, And it's no secret that he's my hero. I mean, obviously we started off not too good in the start, but you know what? I've listened to him over the years. I'm pleading with presidents. I've been to every rainforest in the world with him, where he's begged them not to rip them up. He's just an amazing man, and it's changed my life. I drive an electric car. I've got solar panels on my roof. I turn the lights off when I don't need them. He's
greened you. He's greened
me, but not only has he greened me, but he's made me realise that he's right, and he's been right for the last 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And now we're all sort of suddenly saying, we've got to do something about climate. He's been warning us about that. It's not for us, it's for your children and your grandchildren. He kept saying that message. And if you ask me now, if he rang the phone now and said, would you come up to Belmore and do a picture of me? I'd say, yeah, come on. I'll leave everything. I'll leave you, Roya, and I'll get up there and go.
Outrageous, but I'll allow it for His Majesty.
But you talk about when you said he changed you, I thought that was interesting. I wasn't expecting you to go down the environmental route, because I was thinking about your journey as well, from East End boy, and you've been everywhere. You know, you've met the Pope, you've been to the Oval Office, you've been to, you know, the list is long. You've been to the Kremlin. You know,
probably won't be going back there, Arthur.
Did you know when you first went out to photograph Princess Diana that you would have such an extraordinary career?
No. The life, it's been an amazing career. And of course, sometimes I pinch myself, you know, not only the Kremlin, but I've been into the Great Hall of the People, you know, 3 times, and in Beijing, and the Great Wall 3 times. And I've been to, you know, these amazing places many times. And I've met some great people, you know, not just, you know, the Holy Father, but I mean, you know, the Dalai Lama and Donald Trump. I mean, you know, these are great characters. And it's been, as I say, you've been
a witness to history.
And you know what? Even this year, I went to Australia with him, and
he went to Australia with you, Arthur.
Well, it was your it's your 31st trip to Australia working, but of course you've done more of these trips than Charles, because you did them all with the late Queen and all the other members of the family as well.
All of them, yeah.
Is there one of all the trips you've done, Arthur, and you've done I mean, you must have more air miles than anyone I know. Is there one trip overseas tour in your 50 years plus that really stands out in terms of blockbuster?
There's only one.
What is it?
It's when the Queen went to Ireland.
Oh, really?
I never thought the Queen would ever go to Ireland. Every year I used to ask the palace.
What year was this?
2011.
Okay.
And I went to a party at the Irish Embassy, a Christmas party, which Prince Charles was guest at. And Terry Wogan came up to me. I did the Terry Wogan show a few times. He said, "Oh, Arthur," he said, "great news." He said, "Queen's going to Ireland." I said, "No." He said, "Yeah." He said, "The ambassador just told us." It was fabulous, 5 days, and it was it's just incredible. I mean, the things that happened there that day. I mean,
it moved the dial in that relationship, didn't it?
Absolutely, and no visit did as much good as that did. That village did more good than any other visit I've ever been on. I mean, Mary Mac, the president of Ireland, made his most welcoming speech. The Queen made a wonderful speech. It was just tremendous, and I was greatly moved by it. I mean, literally, when I was in the Garden of Remembrance, where all the IRA Easter Rising martyrs are buried, and they played the British national anthem, and the Queen laid a wreath. I tell you what, it was very, very moving. And so I say it was the most important tour I've ever done. It most emotionally affected me, and so I came away from that. I remember, and it's no secret. My wife was from Ireland, and my wife was Irish, and we have a house in Ireland. And so I'm very fond of that country, and I would love to say that it was always peaceful there. But I mean, I've had some terrible times, especially in the north. You know, during the times of the Troubles, I remember being scared stiff working up there, and suddenly all this evaporated. This all disappeared. You know, everybody was, you know, and this at the Dublin Convention Centre, when there was this amazing concert that the British Embassy laid on for the Queen. And the Queen went up on the stage to thank all the performers. She turned around to wave, and the audience, which was made up of the great and the good of Ireland, former prime ministers, former presidents, industrialists, they stood up and applauded her for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. It was tears in her eyes. I promise you, it was so moving. So it's the most important. It was only 5 days. You know, I've done a month in India with the King. I've done 5 weeks in Australia with Charles and Diana. I've done all these, but that 5 days was the most important I think I've ever done, and I remember every detail of it. I never forget it.
Her late Majesty, she's and we've talked about this before. She's still blockbuster in terms of when we write about her. Our readers are really, really want to read about her, and we see that in sort of the figures and the feedback. In terms of all the members of the royal family you photographed over the years, we've just been talking about Charles and Diana and Catherine, who will come on to talk about more. Would you say the Queen is still top billing?
The Queen, certainly, it was hard work. You know, you used to really have to concentrate like crazy with it, because it was when the Queen smiled, that's when the room lit up. You know, that's when you knew you had a great picture, because that smile. I mean, the best picture I've got of the Queen of her is absolutely when that face lights up. And you have to be so patient for that, because if she wasn't smiling, she looked grumpy, but she wasn't.
Woman
grumpy.
After my own heart.
That sounds really to me from my face.
Patient, because she knew what you wanted, and you just
get it.
You get it, and she would just accidentally turn around and smile at someone leaving. You knew, and it was, but but lovely pictures. I mean, and at the Derby when she's screaming at the racehorse coming over the line, or when she's, I mean, I've got a wonderful picture at the Derby where she's grumpy when she's obviously lost her bet, and but super pictures. And yeah, she was. But it was. I did lots of tours with her. I went to America with her. I mean, they loved her in America. I went to Australia with her. I went to India with her.
And is that what makes a great picture? It's the emotion of the moment. Is that always what?
Yeah, I think sometimes you don't know. Like for instance, we were in Washington, and we went to a suburb, and it was this small housing project in one of the suburbs, and there was this lady, Alice Frazier, and she'd just been given this new social house, and I was there. I was the pool photographer, myself and someone from America. And the Secret Service briefed everybody in the room. They said, on no account must anybody move. You don't hold your hand out to the Queen until she offers her hand to you. And you don't speak to the Queen unless she speaks to you. Now, you got it. Now, remember that, all right? Nobody move. Queen walked in. Alice rushed across the room, grabbed the Queen and kissed her. I went, bosh, one frame, right?
It's all it takes with you, Arthur.
Let me tell you, one frame, right? I came out of there. I remember I was doing an interview with the Baltimore Sun, and the reporter said, good picture. I said, keep your fingers crossed. I went and processed it. I had this great frame, and I sent it to London. And there was a knock on my door, and it was the American photographer. He said he was like almost tearful. He said,
Must have been green.
He said, I missed that picture. He said, and they're screaming. It was from Reuters, or one of the agencies. He said, could you give it to us? He said, it's going on a loop on American television every 3 minutes, every 3 minutes. I said, well, I rang the British Embassy. I said, look, what do I do? He said, yeah, give it to him if you would. I said, okay, I'll give it to him. Anyway, following day, all the American papers used this picture, and all the British papers used this picture except one, which was the Sun.
Your own paper.
And so I'm big in America. I'm big, but not with the Sun readers anyway.
Arthur, we touched on your view on the King and how amazingly well he's done this year with his health.
Yeah.
Of course, there's another member of the royal family, the Princess of Wales, that's had her own health struggles this year with a cancer diagnosis. And I think we're really interested to get your take on how you think she's approached that, in terms of, it felt in the run up to that announcement in March, there was so much frenzied speculation around where Kate was. We had the announcement in January that she'd had abdominal surgery. We didn't know what for. No. Then she disappeared from public view. Then there was that extraordinary, we'd love to get your take on, the Mother's Day photo. Yeah. We had insane frenzied speculation, particularly in social media after that. So, and then of course that unforgettable appearance on the bench in Windsor with her looking very frail, telling the world she had cancer. Do you think they've taken a different approach to all of that this year?
I think, the fact that she went out and did all that is amazing. I mean, and seeing that picture and seeing what the pictures I've taken, the reason I did a picture during the Qatari visit, I thought she looked terrific. But that year, I mean, that was a year where you just had to sort of hope inside that they were going to make it, the pair of them. They were going to get the best and finest treatment. And if they caught it early, they had every chance of beating it. And I think they probably both will. I think she said recently she's cancer free, didn't she? Mm. But obviously she's still got to build up her energy. And I imagine William doesn't want her to do anything until she's fully fit. And I think that's right.
And do you think he's been trying to protect her, because that image, of course, was taken by Prince William, the Mother's Day image, which then became a source of contention because obviously she had edited it, and she came out and said, look, I'm an amateur photographer, I tried to edit it. What's your take as a photographer?
Well,
do you think they should have someone come in to do that sort of thing?
Let me tell you something I think about that. There was a big uproar about that. Mm. And they asked me to do a page 10 piece for The Sun. And I remember
your analysis, writing.
My analysis, yeah. And I said, you made a mistake, Kate. What's all the fuss about? And quite honestly, it was her picture. She could do exactly what she liked with it. I mean, I looked at it first. I thought, what a fabulous picture. I didn't look to see if that was right, that was right. I mean, I just looked at it and I thought, as I do with pictures of those kids, a lovely picture. I mean, I just thought it was terrific. And I felt that they were forensically being examined by news agencies. Probably that's their job and they should do that. But I felt when she came out and said, look, I'm still learning, I thought, well, that was it. And that sort of put it all to bed in my view. And she just, by that simple, yes, it was me, and I made a mistake. That was it. But I didn't think what the fuss was about. When you put that out there, there's always someone who can find some fault somewhere.
Yeah. So we had that, and then we had the bench video. And then, of course, in September, when she announced the end of her treatment, we had that 3-minute video of her with the family. It was so intimate. They were in Norfolk in the woods picnicking. What was your take on that? When you first saw that, what was your
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it just showed that, I just showed what I believe truly, that they are a wonderful family and really tight family. And it was a super piece of video. I thought it was professionally done, beautifully filmed, and I thought she, as I say, I thought we'd come to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I thought this was them getting back to normal, and now she's slowly doing different things. And
are you pleased to see her back?
I was lovely. I saw her at the cenotaph, and that was wonderful. So she looked stunning in that colour, black, and then I did a picture of the Qataris, and she looked pretty good then. And she's not rushing back to work, and I think she's right. She's going doing this to the day she dies. This job. One day she'll be our queen, and she'll be non-stop.
Like Andrew said, there's no retirement date.
So there's no retirement date, and she's get better, girl. And when you're ready, get back to work. People will be first to criticise her if she does any simple thing wrong, but you know what she does? She does most things right, and when she does it, she smiles, and when she smiles, it's a great picture. And I'm very pleased.
That's lovely.
Well, we look forward to seeing more of her in the new year.
Yeah, I do too.
You seeing more smiles.
And of course, the royal family's, pretty down. There's a few operating there. I was at a reception recently and talking to people there, and there's people quite influential in the royal family, and they were saying pretty Harry's not here because Harry was a great communicator. I remember those days.
Do you miss Harry?
Oh,
on the beat?
I miss him. I'm not happy what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not happy what he's written. But I remember the good days with him. I remember when we used to go on jobs with him. And
they were fun, weren't they?
Oh, at the end of the tour, we'd all go to the pub. We'd all have a laugh with each other, taking the mickey. He'd say what he didn't like. He'd say what he did like. And we would have a laugh, and it would be fun. I remember once I'm in New Zealand, I'd said something on television about him going bald. And he got this painted hand and put it on my head.
I was with you that day.
Yeah,
I was with you.
He said,
you were quite cross about it,
well,
Arthur.
I was cross at the beginning, but I smiled for the photographs because...
You did. I did that job and you were very smiley.
And I said, what did you do that for? He said, because you'd told everybody on television, I'm going bald. I said, well, you said that to a woman yesterday, so I didn't want you to tell the world. But that was fun. And then...
We were in New Zealand, weren't we?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what, and then I remember on the Copacabana beach playing touch rugby with the kids. I remember but he's Usain Bolt in Jamaica, all those things. He was fun, dancing with the kids in Jamaica in his blue suede shoes.
Do you think the royal family don't have that fun anymore?
Well, I don't think there's that happy, that
spontaneity.
Yeah, because he was...
It's kind of joyful, wasn't it?
Because he was, he didn't think about it. I remember once when he hugged the Jamaican Prime Minister. I said, "What did you do that for?" He said, "Well, my father said you like hugs, so I thought I'd get him first."
He wasn't stage managed.
No,
I think
he wasn't.
That's what, like Roy said,
and he was a great communicator. And then when he was with kids, one of his great charities was Well Child. I did a couple of those jobs, and the kids were crawling all over him, and he didn't care, and they were on the floor with him, and he was fun with them. He was fun, and I tell you, the royal family will miss him because he was. And he used to say, my main role in life is to support my brother. And then suddenly it all changed.
Do you think he'll ever be back, Arthur?
I hope. Look, I believe in the parable of the prodigal son. I believe that's possible. And anything's possible. So I would never say never.
Just thinking about the kind of the joy of the pictures and the spontaneity. We kind of see that now with the little Waleses, don't we? Oh, yeah. We see Louis dancing on the balcony at Trooping the Colour. Do you think they're bringing a new element to the way that we talk about the royal family?
I think Louis almost wrecked the Jubilee with the Queen with his...
He had his own kind of Jubilee going on, didn't he?
Everyone was talking about how lovely the Queen made this wonderful appearance. She wasn't well. There was time on the balcony, beautiful view. And then, of course, we was talking about Louis. Look at that, Louis. Look at that. That's who he is. Kids are kids, You can't do too much about them. You can't pre-plan them. Whatever they turn out, they turn out. But it'll be fine. And I'll tell you this: that family's pretty solid. And George, I see George looking just like his father at the same age. Very, very.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, William was so shy.
You photographed William from the day, pretty much the day he was born.
Shy. I remember in Switzerland once, he said to me, please, Arthur, no more pictures. He was about 9 or 10. No more pictures, he said.
Oh.
And then he come up to me and wished me Happy New Year, And so he was different, but he was very shy like that. I remember him getting on the bus at Zurich Airport. I said, good morning, William. And he just went, I said, the answer is good morning, Arthur. And he turned around and smiled. And he, good morning, Arthur. He said, but he was very, very shy. And I see George the same, but, that William is a true statesman, a global statesman, and we want to be a great king.
So how can you feel the royal family's changing the way that it adapts? We're seeing more social media, we're seeing more videos. How does that look to you from? I think
it's important, social media. I think it is, and to let people know. I mean, because nobody seems to want to buy newspapers anymore, and everybody's looking on their phones, which is where the social media hides, and so therefore, I mean, it's essential. But at the same time, photography. I remember when we started doing the royals, you didn't care. You went if they were hunting, you went hunting. If they were whatever they did, you turned up and photographed it, and you didn't. There was no barriers. There was no rules or anything. You just did it. You wanted to go to polo, you turned up at the polo. If you wanted anything, you just did it. Now it's control. Now if there's an engagement, they say one photographer does the pictures, and you can turn up and stand outside and do pictures if you want, but only you've got to apply for a pass for that. That's ridiculous. It's a street, it's a public place. And
it's more controlling now than ever. They're trying to control that narrative, and especially with their own social media.
If there's a bad story or a picture, they're complaining to the reporter or the editor, well, you know what? It might be right, but they've got to, it just seems to me that they want to control everything, and it just shouldn't be that way. It is but it is, and it's.
Do you think that will backfire?
The one thing I do agree with, I must say, is that William keeping his children private is a great thing, because I remember when he was a child and Harry was a child.
He had the opposite experience, didn't he?
Oh God! I mean, we used to turn up at the nursery, on the start of nursery. I mean, Harry used to kick off.
Do you feel bad about that now?
Well, looking back on it, because but that was the norm. Everybody, every newspaper did it. I mean, when William started school, I remember at this. What was the name of the second school he went to?
Weatherby's.
When he went to Weatherby's school, I remember taking a photographer with me, saying, "Right, all you do is photograph him in that cap. Just don't. I'll do everything else. You just do that, And so there was like 2 of us from the paper doing this one picture, because we were trying to get it better on everybody else. And of course, the picture was him in his school cap, and that's what they put up with every time. End of term, start of term. I remember when William appeared in the school play, I did a picture of them walking across the road, going to the school play. William looking absolutely fed up, hated it. And as I said, that time in Switzerland, please, Arthur, no more pictures. They just, and I felt so bad now when I think back at that. But I didn't care, because if I didn't do it, I'd have had no job. Everybody was doing it. Every newspaper had a royal team. Everybody was on every job. Every Diana job, you were standing outside there, whether you were in or out, you did it. And
it's a completely different landscape now, isn't it?
Completely different, yeah. It was absolutely, totally aggressive. 80s and 90s, very aggressive.
Wild West.
And if you didn't measure up, you didn't do the job, and someone else would come and do it. And paparazzi were rife. I mean, I remember Diana being hounded by, I never did that, thank God, but they were hounded by paparazzi, screaming at her and calling her all horrible names, and
to get a reaction, to get the picture horrible. Of emotion in her face.
I could never do that to her, I never could do that.
We could talk to you, I think, it's fair to say, for hours and hours, but we won't keep you that long. But what other things you're looking forward to this coming year? Will we see you on another trip, a royal trip? Do you want to do some more of that?
I hope so, because I need to carry your cameras. That's the biggest part of my job.
Well, the thing is, Roya, I would like you to be there carrying my cameras. I don't know what. Look, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I know that I just got a job Friday with the King. I'm looking forward to that. I'll be working on Christmas Day at Sandringham. I'm looking forward to that.
You're amazing, Arthur.
I am going to be doing the tour in the new year. and I'm going to be, hopefully. And if I'm not, it's because I can't.
But you got plenty of stories to share with your family around the Christmas Day lunch table.
I know we shouldn't plug other things, but all I would say to listeners is if you haven't listened to Arthur's Desert Island Discs, it is a delight.
Well, it's a treat.
And I remember actually getting a very good news story out of it. I'm not going to tell you what that is. Have a listen and see if you can tell what news story I got out of that. But Arthur, after the year that the royal family have had, it's going to be a very, very special Christmas Day with you up at Sandringham taking their picture. And if I didn't see you before, have a very happy Christmas.
And you too, ladies.
Yeah.